But you see, Senator Olaka Nwogu, there is an insinuation that until President Muhammadu Buhari came on board, the UNEP report and issues concerning Ogoni has never been taken serious, particularly by your party, the People's Democratic Party, and of course until President Muhammadu Buhari came on board and approved several actions to fast-track the long-delayed implementation of the UNEP report. Nothing seems to have been done. Would you agree that yes, President Muhammadu Buhari actually took the needed action for Goni people?
Let's put things in clear, let's say the truth and put things in clear perspective. The struggle of the Ogoni was the struggle of an ethnic nationality against the federal government of Nigeria because of environmental degradation. It had nothing to do with whether it was Buhari or Jonathan. Through Jonathan's government, there were processes going on, and it turned out that they had practically concluded all the preliminaries. President Buhari came at a time when there was nothing else to do but to pronounce a structure and the release of funds. But everything that needed to do, there have been several meetings had been done under Jonathan's government, and there was nothing. In fact, not to have done what to do was to deliberately stifle what was left. And unfortunately, or rather, at first, at the initial point, fortunately, Mr. President made this pronouncement we've been waiting for. The Ogoni thing will take off, the UNEP report will be implemented, funds will be released, and the structure will be announced all in 30 days. Guidelines and deadlines were set up, announced by the presidency. We all commended Mr. President at that time. That this is good, the takeoff is right, the right pronouncements have been made. It was the federal government, it was both Jonathan and Buhari in this instance are on one side, then the Ogoni people are on the other
Now,
side.
perhaps the reason for asking this question is because recently the Movement for Survival of Ogoni People under Legbose Piabra issued a 30-day ultimatum to the federal government led by Muhammadu Buhari, calling for visible activity in the UNEP report. And a lot of Ogonis, prominent Ogonis, have criticized that ultimatum, saying for the first time this is the period Ogonis are saying real action in the UNEP report implementation of UNEP. Then why issue such ultimatum? What's your stand? What's your take on that?
I don't think a lot of Ogonis, few Ogonis have come out against what the president of MOSOP said.
Are you in support of the ultimatum issued by Legbose Piabra?
MOSOP is entirely within its rights. You see, you need to understand what MOSOP is. First of all, we're talking about this because of the activities of MOSOP. MOSOP is a pressure group. MOSOP was born out of struggle, a body that came out to fight for the rights of Ogonis in view of their economic rights, oil rights, and also the degradation of their environment. MOSOP is not a government structure. The way MOSOP functions is MOSOP looks at the interest of Ogoni and agitates. And we are here at this point where there is a UNEP report. UNEP is a United Nations report. It's here because MOSOP fought through the state, local government, state, federal government of Nigeria, down to the United Nations, and got this. And if MOSOP met with Mr. President, or if MOSOP got a commitment from Mr. President that in 30 days, the structure will be of the UNEP report implementation will be laid out, and funds will be set $10 million as a takeoff grant. And then 150 days after, nothing has happened. And MOSOP said, listen, our history tells us nothing happens unless we ask for it. And now we're asking within 30 days. It was even a fresh 30 days because what MOSOP would have said is that we agreed 30 days. This is 150 days and declared that the government was failing. But MOSOP said in a fresh 30 days, it was like giving another grace period. Make these things happen. Then people come up and say, no, MOSOP, stop it. They do not understand what MOSOP have been doing. They didn't end what we are getting today in terms of the UNEP report or the attempt to make money available for the development of Ogoni. It wasn't these persons who got it. It was MOSOP who struggled for it with sweat and blood to get to this point. And if MOSOP knows how it struggles. So I think it was so unfair and so unnecessary for anybody to come up and say, MOSOP, stop what you're doing. Did the federal government send those people to do that for them? Does the federal government not have voice to say what they can do or not do? I thought that it was not only hasty, but honestly a mighty disservice to the Ogoni cause, to our forebears and our leaders who have sacrificed, even paid the ultimate sacrifice to get to this point, for people of Ogoni extraction to come out and take side with the federal government, preempt the federal government and talk down Ogoni, talk down Mosop leadership. For what purpose, I do not understand. If Mosop gives federal government ultimatum, that is what Mosop is created for. To urge the federal government, to push the federal government, to nudge it so that it will serve Ogoni. What problem do you have with that?
But you see, the problem right now is that the Legbosi Piabra-led Mosop is currently challenged, and it is challenged by some powerful bloc in Ogoni area. For example, there is another group led by Michael Lube Nwidobe, who is leading a faction of Mosop, and this bloc seems to be receiving support of prominent Ogoni people. Just in the news, we gathered that the president of the Supreme Council of Ogoni Traditional Rulers, King Ginawa, gave his blessing to the Mike Nwidobe-led committee of Mosop. And this is creating so much crisis. What's your take on that factionalization of Mosop?
Well, first, I must appeal to our father, King Ginawa. It is best that he stays out of this for the sake of the Ogoni and for the sake of the unity within Mosop. For those who are trying to create another leadership for Mosop, they should think back. See how much sacrifice has been made by the Ogoni people. Why do you want to destroy the organization? To what end and to what purpose and to what benefit? The things I hear worry me. Money will come at some point. People need to control this money. And so they want this Mosop leadership because they know these people will not allow the money to be used in any other way other than to serve the Ogoni people. So people want to have full control of what is coming. And then it's time now to set aside the Mosop that we all know. And then factions are coming up. To our brother, the Mike Lube, please do not make yourself available to anybody to use. Some of you have built your reputation and your name over time. Don't become willing tools. There is no division in Mosop. Everybody knows. We just have a creation of another faction.
When you say you have a creation of another faction, who created this faction?
Let me tell you how Mosop functions. At least up till December last year, December 30th, everybody knew the president of Mosop was Legbosi Piabra. There was an election of a new executive on the 30th. Both Legbosi and Mike obtained forms, went before the Electoral Commission of Mosop, made their manifesto. So at least at that point, there was one electoral body.
And Senator, with due respect, I know that you're not part of the electoral committee, and so what you're giving it's a third party explanation. But what I'm interested in, because you said what we have in Mosop is a creation of a faction that, just for the benefit of those listening to us, could you review or could you unveil the identities of those who create this faction, and who is the genuine and who is the created faction?
If you just allow this narrative for a moment,
okay,
the picture will be clear to you. Up to the 30th, when they had elections of Mosop, there was just one recognized president. So up to that time, there was no faction. Now on the 30th, that was the date of transition. Elections held. Both persons who claimed now to be president of Mosop were there. So at least up to that point, we had candidates, one president, but two candidates, the incumbent president going back and the new person. Now, the question will be, did the other person who claimed to be president go through the electoral process and get elected? No, he did not. He left at some point. Before voting, he left. The process was concluded with the incumbent president returned. And in the fashion of Mosop, if you are elected by the 30th or 31st, which is the day the current government or incumbency ends, on the 4th of the following year, the new president, by the 1st of January, the president automatically assumes a new tenure. And on the 4th, you go and address the people. Who address the people of the Mosop people and the Ogoni people on Ogoni Day, which is a program coordinated and led by Mosop? It's Legbosi Piabra. So we don't know where this new creation by a group to come up with a new person, suddenly a faction has emerged, people are meeting, somebody is being brought out.
Now, distinguished Senator Olaka Nwogu, now, we quite appreciate your narrative, but I know that there are other sides, there's another view to that narrative. But you said the creation of a group. Now, why would somebody wants to factionalize Mossop, knowing what Mossop has done? Lives have been sacrificed. Ogoni's hero died. They laid down their lives for the struggle of Mossop. Mossop is an internationally recognized organization who is championing the cause of injustice of the minority people, and also at the forefront of championing cause of remediation of degraded environments. So why would someone be interested in factionalizing such a strong organization?
There is a gang up of interest.
Who's political
and economic. The political is understandable.
Tell us more about it. Political. Who are these politicians that is leading this political gang up?
There's a candidate and there is a party that is determined to hold Ogoni by the jugular. And for them, the control of Mossop is essential to what they must do in Ogoni land. I will go no further. But the economic is what worries me, because for political, that the people of Ogoni will exercise their mandate and vote those people off. They have never supported, the Ogoni people have never voted for those people, and they will never vote for those people. So I do not care about the political so much. That is within, easy to handle. But the economic is what disturbs me. Like I said before, massive amounts of money are supposed to come under this UNEP program. And there are people who think unless they control it, things will not be right. And decimating Mossop, the trusted body and its leadership, the trusted body of the Ogoni, is the way they think they can go about this. And for me, no matter the money you may gain, no matter greed is a dangerous thing, and I urge people, I can only appeal, it will not serve, what our people sacrifice is too much more than money. So there is no amount of money that is coming to this remediation program or restoration program that should lead people to look at Mossop and dismantle the structures or bring this confusion. Let me tell these people that all they will succeed, they will never get the money. All they will succeed in doing is give the federal government an excuse to say because you're divided, we are unable to fund this program because we do not know which leadership we are dealing with. So they think that this will give them control of the money. It will only end up making an excuse. They think they have access to the federal government. They are in for a bitter lesson. So my urge, therefore, to all Ogonis is we have a structure that we all know. We have Mossop that we all respect. Let's keep it so. And let the politicians and the traditional institutions take their hands off Mossop and allow Mossop continue to be what it is. It's a social pressure group. It's a pressure group that helps us articulate our issues. If Mossop appear to have come up with a language that they didn't like, that is the kind of language Mossop speaks. Mossop speaks the language, Mossop speaks truth to power. Mossop does not go begging the federal government. Mossop tells them where we are and what we need to have. That is the language of Mossop.